Monday, Judge Brett Kavanaugh returns to the Senate for another appearance in his confirmation hearings. But this time, it will be about allegations of sexual misconduct from 36 years ago, and his accuser will also be testifying. Welcome now, Jami Floyd, an experienced lawyer who went on to a distinguished career as a legal reporter and analyst on CBS, Court TV, and ABC. She now hosts All Things Considered on WNYC Public Radio here in New York. But much more important than that, she was law and justice correspondent when I was head of ABC News. Yeah, exactly. So it's great to be back with you. In a different way,
It's
Jami.
good to see you. We always talked about the law, and I enjoyed those conversations so much.
So you've covered so many of these confirmation hearings.
Going back to this, Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill, which is reminiscent now of this.
And so what should we expect on Monday, do you expect?
Oh, God. Well, you know, it's hard to know what to expect because although this does recall the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill, we call them the Hill-Thomas hearings, so much has changed. I mean, first of all, we're in the Me Too moment. Right? Back then, there were only 2 women senators in the entire Senate. Now we've got 4 women on the committee and 23 women in the Senate, 2 of whom are powerful Republican women who are insisting that Dr. Ford, the accuser this time around, be heard. Back then, the senators, the committee certainly didn't even want to hear from Anita Hill. It's hard to know what to expect because this is very much a he said, she said situation. People alone in a room, allegedly 36 years ago, not just a few years ago, as Anita Hill alleged. And she was alleging an employment situation where conceivably other women might come forward. The committee never wanted to hear from those other women. Here it's just 3 people in a room, Dr. Ford says herself. She says then a young Brett Kavanaugh and his friend.
So, as I say, you are an experienced lawyer. I mean, you practice law, both in the law firm and criminal law. Exactly right. So you know how important preparation is when you have a situation like this. Very high profile, really difficult set of circumstances. As I said, he said, she said. At the same time, they're going forward at breakneck speed. They do not have a lot of prep work from the staff. And in fact, there are reports the Bloomberg had yesterday that they've not asked for an FBI investigation.
Well, the Democrats are pushing for an FBI investigation. Chuck Grassley didn't even want, who is, of course, heads this committee as the senior Republican on the Judiciary Committee, didn't even want to have these hearings next week. He just wanted to have phone calls with Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh. And the compromise seems to be to go forward quickly, as you say, move apace, but without the full investigation. In my humble analysis, that doesn't seem advised. I do think there should be an investigation, and that would include the FBI going back as far and as well as it can, given the passage of time, to talk to the people who were at the party, to talk to the 3 young people who are now 50-year-old people who were in that room, allegedly, to talk to the other people that Dr. Ford says she came to the party with. So apparently there were not just the judge and the other young man in the room, but 2 other boys from the school and her friends and the other young people who were there at the time. So you can do an investigation even after 36 years. And I think it's fair not just to Dr. Ford, but also to Judge Kavanaugh to do that investigation.
Exactly right. At the same time, the reports are that Senator Feinstein had this back in July. If she'd come forward in July, they could have done that work. They could have had the FBI investigate things like that. Do the Democrats really have some of the blame here?
Well, perhaps they do, David. But now we have the information. And the question is, what do we now do at this moment in time going forward? A lot of people want to talk about what did Feinstein know and when did she know it? But that's not really the issue on the table at this moment in time. I think she was in a difficult position. This woman actually went to her Congresswoman, Anna Eshoo, and to the Washington Post, and all of those parties felt they had their hands tied because she requested confidentiality. And I think that's also what Senator Feinstein was grappling with. But now we all know about it. It leaked out. We know who the woman is. She's come forward. And so the question is, what do we do now going forward?
At the same time, the reason we're here is for the Supreme Court. To get a 9th justice sitting in the Supreme Court, right? Which we've had a long time. We had the Merrick Garland thing. We've had a lot of struggles up there in the Supreme Court. What does this do to the court? It doesn't look at this point probably likely that a Justice Kavanaugh will be seated by October 1. And if there's a switch in the Senate, maybe not even after that.
But as Republicans argued and demonstrated, the court can function with just 8 seats. It functioned absent the late Justice Scalia as we stalled on the Merrick Garland decision. We waited to put a justice in place. and it functioned along. It's not ideal, but I think to rush such an important decision, a lifetime appointment, is not advised. The question I have, David, is does even the taint, the possibility, the question of something like this in someone's background seal the deal? What if it can't be proved one way or the other? What does that mean for this man's nomination? That's a real question that I have I have to say honestly to you, I don't have an answer.
Yeah, and going all the way back to Anita Hill,
yes.
Clarence Thomas, I don't think, from my point of view, either side came away feeling great about that experience.
That's right, and now Justice Thomas has been on the bench for 27 years, and the cloud of those hearings, I think, has hung over the court and over his judgeship and over the country ever since.
So I can't let you get away without exploiting your expertise. Paul Manafort, the Mueller investigation.
I thought you might bring that up.
What do you make of that? This is quite a story.
It's
and of
stunning.
course, because Bob Mueller is doing his job, we don't really know what's going on inside the prosecutor's office. But what do you think will develop there?
I think that the plea deal that Paul Manafort signed, I guess, gave us last week on Friday is a stunning development because of his integral relationship to the Trump campaign, the Trump Tower meeting, the convention, and the potential link to Russia during the campaign. We don't know exactly, again, what he knew or what the president knew and when they knew it, but it takes us one step closer to the possibility of the word the president loves to use, collusion, which you and I, David, know is not really a crime. It's not about collusion, but it could be about conspiracy or something greater. So Manafort is the most important key player thus far, and we're moving closer to Roger Stone. We're moving closer to the Clinton email situation and Julian Assange. The whole thing, it's mind-boggling. You couldn't write a better novel, except sadly we're talking about the American democracy.
We are, and sadly there are too many precedents, unfortunately. Jami, it is a real treat to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to see you again. Good to be with you. Okay, that's Jami Floyd, legal reporter and analyst, and the host of All Things Considered on WNYC Public Radio right here in New York.